Hey, what's going on? Knoxville 363. Today I am going to be doing a comparison video on the HTC One SV and the Samsung Galaxy S2, both on the Boost Mobile network. And I've been toying around with the HTC. I've had the S2 for quite some time now, so I figured I'd just go over some differences and some comparisons just so you guys can make up your own mind on whether you want or feel the need to upgrade to this phone or maybe something different. First of all, let's talk about the price, all right? When I bought the S2, it was when it first came out, it was $379. By far the most expensive phone. Well, I think way back in the day, the i1 was like $400. But anyways, by today's standards, the S2 is probably the most expensive phone that Boost Mobile probably will be offering for quite some time. The HTC is $299, and I believe you get the S2 now for $279, maybe? Something along those lines. If you have the money, then maybe you want to spend the extra money on the HTC. My opinion, for the money, I would say the S2 has more bang for its buck. That's just my own opinion, and I'm going to go through my reasonings behind that. Let's go from an obvious standpoint is size. All right, this has a 4.52 inch screen. This is a 4.3. Not much of a difference. Not, you're not comparing a 4.5 compared to a 4-inch screen, but there is a significant difference, as you can see. I'll hold both the phones up side by side, so you're getting. It may not seem like it, but to the user, when you're handling both phones, you will notice the difference immediately. I just try not to get the screens to turn off. Obviously with a larger screen, you're going to have more of a bulky phone. Now, with the HTC, if you've had the Marquee before, that is the best comparison I could use as far as design-wise goes with the HTC. Now, I think they're both lightweight phones. The Samsung Galaxy S2 is a tad bit heavier. I don't know what the exact weights are on both of the phones. I think it's like 4 ounces, and maybe this is like 5-point-something ounces. I don't know. Like I said, I don't ever look up any of that goofy stuff because that's pointless to me. But anyways, they're both thin devices. Believe it or not. Here, I'll put them up side by side just so you guys can see the difference. There's really not that big of a difference as far as thickness goes. As long as both phones have a large screen and they're not extremely thin and not extremely thick, then that's good enough for me. As far as layout goes, that's very, very important for me. I pointed out in my review video on why I really like the power sleep button on the side. I was really happy that the S2 had that. Volume rocker could have been a little bit bigger, no big deal. I really like that the camera was flush. I like that a lot. On the HTC, on their first one that they had with the WiMAX network, it was sticking out. Like, I didn't understand the point of that. That's how people damage their stuff. So that was a huge standpoint that I had. And guess what? HTC learned from it, and now guess what? Now it's not sticking out. So props to them for correcting a mistake that they made. Biggest thing is with the HTC, even for people with smaller hands, reaching on top, see how it's angled? It may be uncomfortable for the user to constantly be reaching up with their finger, and when you put a case on it, it might be a little bit harder to, I guess not power on and off, but turn on and off the display. May not be a big deal to you, but it is to me. And the volume rocker being on the right side instead of the left, I didn't understand that concept. And last but not least, I guess one other thing I could complain about, I'm used to having 4 buttons on the bottom. I've never had a phone with just 3. At least maybe I did, but I don't remember. I'm so used to 4. I do like the fact that they light up. That is pretty cool to me. Next is color. Obviously, this was my first white phone I've ever had. And because I had a case on it the whole time, obviously it's maintained its color. No scratches, no blemishes, no nothing. So I mean, you can get this one in black or a charcoal gray, whichever you want to call it. I do like the white. I would never get another white phone just because I was always paranoid about it getting dirty. The HTC, on the other hand, I thought that was really cool. I like the fact that they changed it up, and it's not a unibody, but I would definitely say that that color definitely stands out, and I like how the keys light up the orangish red. So in that aspect, I like how both phones offer different color choices, and I like the fact that, you know, the buttons, they match it. I always thought that was cool, how that's white and the phone's white. Just something that's petty, but I like it. Camera wise, I already pointed out that I like how both of them are now that they're flush with the phone, that they don't stick out. I don't know, I've actually shot quite a few YouTube videos that I posted on my channel using my S2, and I've never done that in the past. That's how impressed I am with the quality. It's full HD. I didn't read anything about the HTC being full HD. All of a sudden it started getting cloudy here. Let me flip on the light. So, I mean, in reference to, if, you know, to me, 720 versus 1080 as far as phone wise goes, I don't know if that would be my, you know, that's the way I would make my decision based off of just something like that. But, you know, if you're nitpicky over little things like I am, you know, the 1080 is obviously the better choice. So now that I shoot a lot more videos and take a lot more pictures, now that I have my son, that's all important for me because I don't ever really carry my digital camera any longer. WiMAX versus LTE. I don't know what your guys' coverage is in your particular area. They just put up LTE towers in my area. I don't know, this phone is not activated. That would be a huge factor. I mean, if speed's something that's important to you, I don't even use, my 4G is never even turned on my S2. The 3G is just fast enough for me. The WiMAX towers aren't even that good by my area. So, I mean, but I guess the LTE towers in the city of Chicago are really, really good. So maybe there is a significant difference. Maybe if I had that experience, I would say, oh, okay, the LTE is significantly faster. So therefore, you know, obviously WiMAX is outdated, but what can you do? Speed, the S2 just, you know, it's fine for me. Obviously, who wouldn't want something faster? But if that's your determining factor, that you really want, you know, a really fast phone, maybe the HTC would be a better choice for you. For me, the S2 is just fine. As far as the, you know, when I first was thinking about picking up the phone, DJ talked to me about it. He goes, you know, if you're an HTC kind of guy, and I was like, I don't know what he's getting at, but he's right, you know. After having the standard, you know, Android experience, I'm so used to it now that now when I turned it on, you know, I do like their Sense Flip clock. That's one thing I will say. I love their clock. I think it's so much better than the standard. You know, this one's for Jelly Bean. But anyways, you know, it's just one of them things you got to get used to. Their UI, it's completely, well, I'm not going to say completely different, but there's a few different things that I liked and I disliked about it. My biggest thing that I explained in my review video is, now look, there's nothing, okay? So now you have to always hit settings, find it, or you have to download widgets. You shouldn't have to download widgets. Everything should be accessible from your notification bar. My own personal opinion. Another huge thing is ice cream sandwich versus Jelly Bean. S2 just got updated to Jelly Bean. You're still an ice cream sandwich if you buy the HTC. Not that big of a deal. There are small little tweaks that I've covered. If you want to know what the little differences are, feel free to go on my channel and look those up, or check out someone else's video, or Google it yourself. Internal storage. There is a massive amount of internal storage on both phones, okay? But my God, did HTC really hog up half your internal storage just by all of their stock applications. Now you can go ahead and delete whatever you want to delete. Just be conscious of what you're deleting if you use something like titanium backup when you eventually root your phone, if that's the route you want to go. Now, Now that we're on the topic of routing here, really quick off topic, if you pay the extra $10 a month for your hotspot, that's not accessible on the HTC, which I thought was, maybe that's not a popular thing, but see, and I'm not using Boost Mobile hotspot. I just root my phone and I use Wi-Fi tether, and it's free, which eventually you'll be able to do on the HTC. But if you're not a root kind of person, you want to leave it stock, you cannot do it by paying an extra $10 a month on the HTC. Notification lights, obviously notification lights right here on the Samsung, and it is right here in the speaker on the HTC. So another huge aspect that I really like is the notification light. That's really big with me. I always leave my phone on vibrate, and if I miss something, it's always nice to just look up, oh, okay, hey, I missed a phone call, text message, etc. And last but not least, I wrote down sounds and vibrate, okay? I do a lot of Netflix on my phone, and I don't know, I really wasn't too impressed with Samsung's. HTC's just a little bit, I would say just a tiny bit lower standard than, or not standard, just quality wise is when you're comparing it to the S2. Now, would I say that they're about the same? Absolutely. I'm not going to say, oh, the Samsung's so much better. No, I'd say they're about the same. Now, if you're really big into listening to music on your phone, boom. The Beats by Dre is awesome. I will say that much. I listen to some music on the HTC with my headphones just so I can get the Beats by Dre experience to know what exactly it was. And I will say there is a significant difference. I don't really do the whole use it for my MP3 player. I usually just use it through an FM tuner, and that's what I do when I'm at work. I don't really have that opportunity. But if you're the kind of person that, you use public transportation, or you're going to school or something, you want to use your phone listening to music, that's your phone of choice. So those are just some small little differences and some comparisons between the two phones. Me personally, do I think it's worth upgrading from the S2 to the HTC? I don't believe so. That's my own personal opinion. Now, I will say this much. I've only had this phone for a day, and I'm only borrowing this from DJ. I don't own the phone, so I'm not going to be able to do any more videos with the HTC. But my own personal opinion, just from the short amount of time that I did use it, I did notice that there's a few, my biggest factors were the camera, the internal storage, not that I really used that much to begin with, but I thought that was kind of crazy how they hogged up that much space by their own stock applications. And just the simple fact that I like a larger screen phone, and the layout. The layout's what kills it for me. This phone just screams LG marquee to me. And I don't know. It's just this. I remember I hated that, the whole layout thing. The 3 buttons, the volume rocker, and the power sleep button on top. That's what really kills it for me. Other than that, great phone. No, I'm not saying if you get the phone that it's bad. If you have whatever other phone from Boost Mobile and you upgrade to the HTC, you will be happy. I'm not saying that you will not, and I guarantee you this phone will get Jelly Bean eventually. Look how long it took the S2 to get it. So if you're patient enough, it'll come. I just think that for the amount of money that you'd be spending on the One SV, sorry, I always want to say SV1. I think they should have went with SV1. That would have been cooler. But it's off topic. I'm tired and I'm just going off on a tangent here. Anyways, those are my biggest things. So I hope I helped you guys. If you were wondering about anything that I covered. Oh, last but not least, I'm sorry about that. Battery life, I'm going to say that they're going to be about equal. My S2 is getting a little bit older. I charge it quite a bit now, so obviously I can't compare the two batteries. Now, I've had this HTC on, obviously very, 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 very minimal use, and the battery's still pretty much full. So one of DJ's friends, he actually used the HTC. He said the battery's better. I don't know. Like I said, both have 1900 milliamp batteries. So, you're not going to be getting extreme amounts of time. I would always suggest you get one of those aftermarket batteries. That's what DJ has on his S2, and he said it's amazing. Picked it up for like $10 or something like that off Amazon or eBay. So, thank you guys for checking this out, and I will catch you guys next time.